I had finally saved up enough to build my dream home on the best plot of land in a new, exclusive neighborhood. But from day one, the HOA president, a power-hungry woman named Brenda, made my life a living hell. The noise, the trucks, the very existence of my project sent her into a rage. It all came to a head when she stood in front of my cement mixer, screamed that I was a criminal, and called 911 to have me arrested and my site shut down for good. But Brenda made one catastrophic mistake. She never bothered to ask who I was. She had no idea she was trying to enforce the rules on the very man who owned every last inch of the entire development, including the ground her own house was built on. Hello, and thank you for listening. This is a story about a dream, a patch of land, and the kind of person who believes that a little bit of power gives them absolute authority over everyone else. My name is Mark. For 20 years, I worked in the commercial real estate and development sector. It wasn't glamorous. It was long hours, endless meetings, and navigating a world of permits, zoning laws, and billion-dollar handshakes. I wasn't the face of the company, just one of the many gears that made the big machine turn. My dream wasn't to climb to the very top of that corporate ladder, but to use the knowledge I'd gained to build something for myself. Something permanent. Years ago, my company acquired a massive, undeveloped tract of land on the city's outskirts. It was beautiful, rolling hills, old oak trees, and a stunning vista that overlooked a small, pristine lake. While the executive board saw plots and profit margins, I saw a home. Before the first blueprint for the development was even drafted, I used my position and my life savings to purchase a 2-acre parcel for myself. It was the prime spot, right on the ridge, tucked away at the end of what would eventually become the main cul-de-sac. The development was named Willow Creek Estates, and over the next decade, it blossomed. My company, the developer, built wide, clean streets, installed charming gas lamps, and sold lots to people who built magnificent, multi-million-dollar homes. An HOA was established as a standard practice to maintain the community's aesthetic and property values. The bylaws were standard, written by our own legal team. I had read them 1,000 times. They were designed to be reasonable, to prevent genuine eyesores, not to be wielded as a weapon. I stayed out of it. I was just a quiet landowner, waiting for the right time to build. Finally, that time came. I was ready to build my forever home. I hired the best architectural firm in the state and a construction crew known for their professionalism and efficiency. The plans were approved by the city, the county, and, as a formality, submitted to the HOA Architectural Review Committee. Everything was in order. This was supposed to be the most exciting chapter of my life. I had no idea it was about to become a battleground, all because of one person, Brenda. Brenda was the president of the Willow Creek Estates Homeowners Association. From what I gathered, she had been elected because no one else wanted the job, and she had since turned that volunteer position into her own personal fiefdom. She was a woman in her late 50s with perfectly coiffed, helmet-like hair and a gaze that could curdle milk. Her primary mode of transportation was a golf cart, which she used to patrol the neighborhood with the grim determination of a prison warden. A clipboard, it seemed, was a permanent extension of her arm. I met her for the first time on the second day of construction. A large flatbed truck was delivering a shipment of steel beams. The driver, following my explicit instructions, had parked carefully on the gravel and dirt of my own lot, well off the pristine asphalt of the street. I was overseeing the delivery when Brenda's golf cart came zipping up the road, stopping so abruptly it sent gravel flying. "You there?" she barked. Not at me, but at the truck driver. "You cannot park that monstrosity here." The driver, a burly man named Gus, just looked at her, then at me, confused. I stepped forward. "Good morning," I said, offering a polite smile. "I'm Mark. This is my property. The truck is well off the road." Brenda turned her steely gaze on me. "I am Brenda, the HOA president. And according to Bylaw 7, Section C, commercial vehicles of this size are not permitted to remain stationary within the community for more than 1 hour without prior written approval. Did you get my approval?" I kept my smile, though it was beginning to feel strained. "Brenda, with all due respect, the vehicle is on my private, undeveloped lot, not on community property, and it's here for an active delivery that is part of an HOA-approved construction project. Will be unloaded in about 20 minutes. Her eyes narrowed. "Unapproved. The project was approved, but the process is not. This level of noise, the dust, it's a disturbance. She made a note on her clipboard. I'm documenting this. You will be receiving a formal warning. She then spun her golf cart around and sped off, leaving a cloud of dust and indignation in her wake. Gus, the truck driver, just shook his head. Good luck with that one, boss, he muttered. I had a sinking feeling I was going to need it. That was just the beginning. The next day, I received a formal, laminated notice in my mailbox. A $50 fine for unapproved commercial vehicle staging. The day after, another one. $100 for excessive particulate matter, which was just dust from the excavation. Then came a fine for auditory pollution when the crew was using nail guns. Brenda was building a case, brick by petty brick. She was trying to bleed me dry with 1,000 paper cuts before the first wall of my house was even up that I knew the bylaws better than she did. I had helped write them. I knew that what she was doing was a gross misinterpretation of the rules, a weaponization of ambiguity. I could have fought it. I could have sent a cease and desist from one of my company's lawyers that would have buried her in paperwork. But I didn't want to. This was my home, my community. I wanted to be a neighbor, not a litigant. So, I paid the first few fines, hoping it would appease her. It was a foolish hope. It only emboldened her. The breaking point came about a month into the project. It was the day of the foundation pour. This is a critical, one-shot operation. Multiple cement trucks have to arrive in a coordinated sequence to pour thousands of pounds of concrete before it begins to set. It's a loud, messy, and incredibly precise ballet of heavy machinery. My project manager and I had planned it for a Tuesday morning to cause the least disruption. We had even posted notices at the community mailbox a week in advance, apologizing for any temporary noise. The first truck arrived right on schedule at 8 a.m. and began its pour. Everything was going smoothly. The second truck was rolling up the cul-de-sac when I saw it. Brenda's golf cart. She drove it right past my property line and parked it diagonally across the road, completely blocking the path of the incoming cement truck. I walked down my gravel driveway to the edge of the street. Brenda, I said, my voice dangerously calm. You need to move your vehicle. Immediately, she stood up, clipboard in hand, a smug, triumphant smirk on her face. Absolutely not, she declared, loud enough for my entire construction crew to hear. This project is in violation. The noise levels are unacceptable. You are operating heavy machinery before 9 a.m. I am shutting this down. Brenda, the city permit allows for construction to begin at 7 a.m. I countered, holding up my phone, which had the permit pulled up. We waited an extra hour out of courtesy. You are now illegally blocking a public thoroughfare and interfering with a lawful business operation. The concrete in that truck is setting as we speak. You will move your cart right now. That's when she went from tyrant to full-blown menace. Her face flushed a deep, angry red. I am the law here, she shrieked, stabbing a finger in my direction. You are a rogue builder, a menace to this community. You think you can just come in here and do whatever you want? Well, you're done. You are trespassing. Your entire project is illegal. I just stared at her. The sheer absurdity of being called a trespasser on my own land was staggering. My crew had stopped working, watching the spectacle unfold. The driver of the second cement truck was on his radio, likely telling the third truck to hold off. Every second that passed was costing me thousands of dollars and jeopardizing the entire foundation of my future home. I took a deep breath. Brenda, this is your last chance. Move the cart. No, she spat. Then, she pulled out her phone. Her thumb jabbed at the screen. I'm calling the police, she announced with a villainous glee. I'm telling them there's a hostile individual running an illegal construction site and threatening me. Let's see how you talk your way out of handcuffs. I watched as she put the phone to her ear. I could hear her shrill, panicked voice feeding a string of lies to the 911 operator. Yes, he's very aggressive. I'm afraid of what he might do. He's got all these men here. Please hurry. When she hung up, she crossed her arms, the picture of smug victory. She had played her trump card. In her mind, the game was over. She had won. She had no idea she had just sealed her own fate. The 10 minutes we waited for the police to arrive felt like an eternity. The air was thick with tension. The only sound was the low rumble of the first cement truck's engine and the distant chirping of birds, oblivious to the suburban drama. Brenda stood her ground, a sentinel of self-importance. I simply stood by my driveway, waiting. My project manager came over. "Mark, what do we do? That mix is going to be ruined." "Just wait, Tom," I said quietly. "Let this play out." Two police cruisers pulled into the cul-de-sac, their lights off. Two officers got out, a seasoned, weary-looking sergeant and a younger, eager-looking officer. Brenda immediately rushed toward them. Asterisk. "Oh, thank goodness you're here, officers," she gushed, putting on a masterful performance of a damsel in distress. "This man," she pointed at me, "has been running this illegal, disruptive operation for weeks. I am the HOA president, and he has refused to comply with any of our community bylaws. He's hostile, and I was afraid for my safety." The sergeant listened patiently, then turned to me. His expression was neutral, but I knew the default position. The person who calls 911 is usually seen as the victim, at least initially. "Sir, what's your side of the story?" he asked. "My name is Mark," I said calmly. "This is my property. We are in the process of building a home. We have all the necessary permits from the city, which I am happy to provide. This woman," I nodded towards Brenda, "is the HOA president. She has been harassing my crew and levying fraudulent fines for a month. Today, she has illegally blocked a public road, is interfering with our work, and is costing my company a substantial amount of money by holding up this concrete pour." Brenda scoffed. "His company? He's just some builder who thinks he's above the rules." The sergeant looked from her to me. "Ma'am, is it true you're blocking the road with your golf cart?" "I am upholding the community bylaws," she insisted. "His permits don't supersede our rules. He has to respect the HOA's authority." This was the moment. The key phrase. The HOA's authority. The sergeant sighed, clearly not wanting to get into a civil dispute. "Sir, even if you have permits, the HOA rules can be a civil matter. For now, could you just ask your crew to pause until we can sort this out?" "No," I said, simply. The younger officer tensed up slightly. The sergeant's eyes narrowed. "No, no," I repeated. "I will not be pausing. In fact, I need you to have this woman move her vehicle immediately so my next truck can get through." Brenda's smirk returned. She thought I was digging my own grave to die. Looked at the sergeant. "Officer, I don't think you understand the situation. You're right, this is a civil matter. But it's not between a homeowner and an HOA. The lines of authority here are being misunderstood." I pulled out my phone. "I didn't call a lawyer. I called my office." "Put me through to Mr. Davison," I said. A moment later, a deep, authoritative voice was on the line. I put the phone on speaker. "Mark, everything all right? I thought you were on site." "Everything is fine, Bill," I said. "I just have a small issue with one of the local residents. I have a couple of police officers here, and I think you could clear things up for them faster than I could." "Put them on." The voice of Bill Davison, the CEO of the entire Multi-State Development Corporation, said. I held the phone out to the sergeant. "This is the CEO of the company that developed Willow Creek Estates." The sergeant took the phone, a look of confusion on his face. "Sir, this is Sergeant Miller." He listened for about 30 seconds. His eyes slowly widened. He glanced at me, then at the sprawling, multi-million-dollar homes lining the street, then back at me. A look of dawning comprehension washed over his face. He handed the phone back to me. "Thank you, Bill," I said, and hung up. The sergeant cleared his throat. He turned to face Brenda, and his entire demeanor had changed. The tired neutrality was gone, replaced by a crisp, official firmness. "Ma'am," he began, "I have just been informed that this man, Mark, is not just a homeowner. He is a senior executive at the parent company that owns this entire development. According to the master deed, his company holds ultimate authority over the HOA's charter. Technically, ma'am, the HOA only exists because his company allows it to. He isn't bound by the bylaws in the same way. In fact, he wrote them. You are not upholding the rules. You are interfering with the landowner's lawful activity. You are the one who is trespassing." Brenda's face went through a spectacular series of transformations, from smugness to confusion, to disbelief, to sheer, pale-faced horror. Her mouth opened and closed like a fish, but no sound came out. The clipboard slipped from her fingers and clattered onto the asphalt. "Move the cart now," the sergeant said, his voice leaving no room for argument, "or I will have it impounded." and you will be cited for obstruction and wasting police resources. Asterisk wordlessly, like a robot, Brenda stumbled to her golf cart and moved it to the side of the road. The second cement truck rolled past her, the driver giving her a long, hard stare. She didn't meet his gaze. She didn't meet anyone's. She just sat in her cart, utterly defeated, as my construction project roared back to life. But I wasn't done. She had declared war, and surrender was not an option. The next week, every single homeowner in Willow Creek Estates received a certified letter. It was a notice for an emergency, mandatory HOA meeting. The letterhead wasn't the usual flimsy Willow Creek HOA paper. It was the heavy, embossed stationery of the parent development corporation that I attended the meeting. When I walked in, a hush fell over the room. I wasn't just Mark, the guy building the house at the end of the cul-de-sac anymore. I was the landlord. I was the power they had never known existed. That I stood at the podium where Brenda usually stood. She was sitting in the front row, looking small and shrunken. I didn't raise my voice. I didn't need to. I calmly explained the situation. I detailed the month of harassment, the fraudulent fines, and the final, illegal act of obstruction that had cost my company nearly $50,000 in delays and wasted materials. The Homeowners Association, I said, my voice echoing in the silent room, was created to protect property values and maintain a certain standard of living. It was not created to be the personal instrument of a bully. Due to the gross mismanagement and the extreme liability risk exposed by the actions of your president, Brenda, my company is exercising its right as the declarant of the original covenants. I let that hang in the air for a moment. Effective immediately, the HOA's operational budget is frozen pending a full, forensic audit to be conducted by a firm of our choosing. Furthermore, a one-time special assessment fee of $5,000 per household will be levied to cover the legal costs of this audit and to reimburse my company for the damages incurred. This fee is a direct result of your president's actions. A wave of gasps and angry murmurs swept through the room. All eyes turned to Brenda. Her neighbors, the people she lorded over, were now looking at her with pure fury. She was going to cost every one of them $5,000. I wasn't finished. And finally, I said, I want to clear up a misconception about the disruptive construction project. The work being done on my lot isn't just for my home. The preliminary excavation and grading were also for the adjacent community plot. We're preparing to break ground next month on a new, state-of-the-art children's playground and a community park, a gift from my company to the residents of Willow Creek. A project that your president did everything in her power to sabotage. That was the final blow. The meeting erupted. Brenda was voted out of her presidency in a unanimous, rage-fueled vote. She sold her house and was gone within 2 months. The audit found she had been mismanaging funds for years, and the new board, working under my company's direct supervision, was able to professionalize the entire operation. The special assessment was, after some legal review, levied directly against Brenda's assets during the sale of her home. That MY house was completed 6 months later. It's beautiful. The view is just as I dreamed. And next to it, the park is filled with the laughter of children every afternoon. I found my peace. And the residents of Willow Creek learned a valuable lesson. Always be careful who you pick a fight with. You never know if the person you're trying to control is the one who owns the entire board.